Marvel's Daredevil is an American television series created by Drew Goddard for the streaming service Netflix, based on the Marvel Comics character Daredevil. It is set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, acknowledging the continuity of the franchise's films, and was the first Marvel Netflix series leading to the crossover miniseries The Defenders. Daredevil was produced by Marvel Television in association with ABC Studios. Stephen S. DeKnight served as showrunner for the first season, with Doug Petrie and Marco Ramirez taking over as CO showrunners for the second, and Eric Olson joining the series as showrunner for the third. Goddard served as a consultant for the series. Charlie Cox stars as Matt Murdock/Daredevil, a blind lawyer by day who fights crime as a masked vigilante by night. Deborah Ann Wall, Eldon Henson, Rosario Dawson, and Vincent D'Onofrio also star, with Toby Leonard Moore, Vondi Curtis Hall, Bob Gunton, and Islet Zura joining them for Season 1, John Bernthal, Elodie Yung, and Stephen Ryder joining the cast for Season 2, and Joanne Wally, Jay Alley, and Wilson Bethel joining in Season 3. Daredevil entered development in late 2013. A year after the film rights to the character reverted to Marvel, with Goddard initially hired in December 2013. Cox was cast in May 2014, and the Daredevil costume was designed by Ryan Meinerding of Marvel Studios' design team. The series was intended to be darker than other Marvel projects, intentionally avoiding crossovers with the wider MCU and focusing on a crime fiction style that was inspired by 1970s films. Design inspiration was taken from the Hell's Kitchen setting of the comics, with filming taking place in New York City. The first season was released in its entirety on Netflix on April 10, 2015, followed by the second on March 18, 2016. And the third on October 19, 2018. They were met with positive reviews, and received numerous accolades including several nominations for Primetime Creative Arts Emmy Awards. A spin-off series centered on Bernthal's character Frank Castle/Punisher, titled The Punisher, was ordered by Netflix in April 2016. Netflix cancelled Daredevil on November 29, 2018. It, along with the rest of Netflix's Marvel series, were removed from Netflix and added to Disney and in March 2022, after Disney regained the license for them. Beginning in 2021, Cox and D'Onofrio reprised their roles as Murdock and Wilson Fisk/Kingpin in MCU projects produced by Marvel Studios, including a new series, Daredevil, Born Again, which is in development for Disney+. Premise: the first season sees lawyer by day Matt Murdock use his heightened senses from being blinded as a young boy to fight crime at night on the streets of New York City's Hell's Kitchen neighborhood as Daredevil while uncovering a conspiracy of the criminal underworld being led by Wilson Fisk. In the second season, Murdock continues to balance life as a lawyer and Daredevil, while crossing paths with Frank Castle/Punisher, a vigilante with far deadlier methods, as well as the return of an ex-girlfriend Elektra Natchios. In the third season, after Fisk is released from prison, Murdock, who has been missing for months following the events of The Defenders, re-emerges as a broken man and must decide between hiding from the world as a criminal lawyer, or embracing his life as a hero vigilante. Cast and characters: Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock/Daredevil, a blind lawyer who leads a double life as the vigilante Daredevil. Season 1 showrunner Stephen DeKnight explained that Murdock is not super strong. He's not invulnerable, he just has senses that are better than a normal human's. On the character's gray morals, he noted, he's a lawyer by day, and he's taken this oath. But every night he breaks that oath, and goes out and does very violent things. The character's Catholicism plays a large role in the series, with DeKnight calling him one of the most, if not the most, religious characters in the Marvel Universe. Cox worked with blind consultant Joe Strechay, and was conscious of what his eyes were doing at all times, to ensure they would not look at or react to something unlike a blind person. Skyla Gertner plays a young Matt Murdock. Deborah Ann Wall as Karen Page, an enigmatic young woman whose quest for justice sends her crashing into Murdock's life. After portraying Jessica Hamby in True Blood from 2008 to 2014, Wall specifically tried to steer differently than that with Page. Wall noted that Page's backstory would be different from the one from the comics, saying, "In the comic books, in the beginning Karen is very innocent, and then towards the end she's really swung a full 180, she's in a lot of trouble, so I wanted to find a way to make her both of those things at the same time. Can she be a really wonderful, kind person who is a little bit attracted to danger? She's not just always getting into trouble because oh, silly woman. Karen is actually looking for it, and she won't let her fear stop her from finding the truth." Eldon Henson as Franklin Foggy Nelson, Murdock's best friend and law partner. In April 2015, Henson spoke of his excitement for the character's role in the series, saying, "I was really excited as I was getting the scripts and reading that Foggy wasn't just a useless sidekick. He's not just comic relief. I mean, he is some of those things. He does have comic relief, but it was exciting to know that these other characters would have their own path and their own things that they're dealing with." Toby Leonard Moore as James Wesley, Wilson Fisk's right-hand man. Moore described Wesley as both charming and dastardly as all hell. Vondi Curtis Hall as Ben Urich, an investigative journalist for the New York Bulletin. Bob Gunton as Leland Owlsley, a Wall Street financialist, accountant, and a key figure in Wilson Fisk's plans for Hell's Kitchen. Eilert Zurer as Vanessa Mariana Fisk, an art gallery employee who, unlike the comic version, knows of and accepts Wilson Fisk's true dealings and eventually marries him. Rosario Dawson as Claire Temple, a nurse who helps Murdock. The character is an amalgam of the comic characters Claire Temple and Night Nurse. The character was originally going to be the actual night nurse, but was merged with Temple when the writers learned that Marvel Studios had plans for that character in their films. Dawson explained that Temple is a normal person and she becomes more heroic in a way that she maybe didn't expect, and she's not a love interest, she's this skeptical eye looking at this strange situation. She's the one who can be like, "You're not really good at this." That makes it feel more real. Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk/Kingpin, a powerful businessman and crime lord whose interests in the future of Hell's Kitchen brings him into conflict with Murdock and Daredevil. D'Onofrio stated that he hoped his portrayal of Fisk was a new way to look at the character, and that it would be the definitive portrayal of Fisk. DeKnight detailed that Fisk has very many different aspects, so it's not all, "I want to conquer the city and make a lot of money." In our story, we tell the story of how he met his wife Vanessa and how they fell in love. He also said that if you're looking for a juicy, multifaceted crime drama, Wilson Fisk was the obvious choice to play the antagonist, really felt like the right yin to the yang for Matt, and for what we wanted to do this season. Cole Jensen plays a young Wilson Fisk. John Bernthal as Frank Castle/Punisher, a vigilante who aims to clean up Hell's Kitchen by any means necessary, no matter how lethal the results. DeKnight said this version of Punisher would be completely the Marvel version, as previous portrayals did not appear under the Marvel Studios/Marvel Television banner. He also felt Bernthal's Punisher would not be as graphically violent as in Punisher: War Zone. Season 2 showrunner Doug Petrie stated that Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver was an influence on the character, as well as current events, saying, "Taking lethal justice into your own hands in America in 2015 is tricky shit. We have not shied away from the rich, complicated reality of now. If you've got a gun and you're not the police, you're going to incite strong feelings." Bernthal added that this character has resonated with law enforcement and military, and the best thing about him is that if he offends you, he just doesn't care. Elodie Yung as Elektra Natchios, a mysterious and dangerous woman from Murdoch's past. The character was referred to in the first season, before Yung was cast in the role. Describing Elektra's effect on Murdoch, Petrie called her the best bad girlfriend you can possibly have. She does everything wrong and attractive, she's the wild side. Matt is always taming his wild side. Elektra just lets it out. He's both repulsed and deeply drawn to that. Yung described Elektra as kind of a sociopath. This world is a game for her. It's like a chess game, and what motivates her is what she wants. She'll use anything she needs to use to get to her goal, and if she needs to kill people, she would. She added that Elektra is neither good nor bad, but a person with different traits and layers. Lily Chi plays a young Elektra. Stephen Ryder as Blake Tower, a New York district attorney who assists Daredevil with information to help track down and capture criminals. Joanne Whalley as Maggie Grace, a nun with strong opinions who speaks her mind, and cares for Murdoch as he recovers from his injuries. She is later revealed to be Murdoch's mother. Jay Ali as Rahul Ray Nadeem, an honest and ambitious FBI agent who takes on Fisk's case. Wilson Bethel as Benjamin Dex Poindexter, a psychopathic FBI agent who is able to use almost any object as a lethal projectile. Bethel described his character as a really nuanced portrait of a man with some very serious psychological issues, and said that to prepare for the role, he had to read up on experiences of psychoses and schizophrenia. Furthermore, he said Dex needed the structure of the bureau to keep the darkness inside him subdued. Executive producer Jeff Loeb said the character's interaction with Wilson Fisk would corrupt Poindexter and turn him into a Daredevil adversary. Episodes: Season 1, Season 2, Season 3. Production, Development. In April 2013, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige confirmed that the film rights to Daredevil and his associated characters reverted to Marvel from 20th Century Fox in October 2012, allowing those characters to be used within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. As explained by head of Marvel Television Jeff Loeb in 2015, Marvel Studios had first dibs on the character once the rights had reverted. Drew Goddard pitched a new Daredevil film to Marvel, but Marvel was not looking to create an R-rated film, and Goddard did not want a watered-down version of the character. As he also explained in 2015, "I went into Marvel and talked to them about making it as a movie a couple of years ago, long after the Affleck movie. But what we all sort of realized is that this movie doesn't want to cost $200 million. The thing about Matt Murdock is, he's not saving the world. He's just keeping his corner clean. So it would feel wrong to have spaceships crashing in the middle of the city. But because of that, Marvel on the movie side is not in the business of making $25 million movies. They're going big, as they should." Marvel Studios eventually decided that the character would be better served in a television series. Although Feige had plans to use Daredevil in the films, the superiors of Marvel Entertainment ordered Marvel Studios to focus the films on the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy so the characters whose rights they had regained could help build a planned television empire under their direct control. In October 2013, Deadline Hollywood reported that Marvel was preparing 4 drama series and a miniseries, totaling 60 episodes, to present to video-on-demand services and cable providers. With Netflix, Amazon, and WGN America expressing interest. A few weeks later, Disney announced that Marvel Television and ABC Studios would provide Netflix with live-action series centered around Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and Luke Cage, leading up to a mini-series based on the Defenders. This format was chosen due to the success of The Avengers, for which the characters of Iron Man, the Hulk, Captain America, and Thor were all introduced separately before being teamed up in that film. In December, Goddard was officially hired as executive producer and showrunner for Daredevil, and was happy with the change to television from his film idea because you can take time and deal with these smaller things, which to me are much more interesting on a character level. However, Marvel announced in May 2014 that Goddard had stepped down as showrunner to focus on directing a feature film based on Marvel's Sinister Six team for Sony Pictures Entertainment. Goddard, who wrote the first 2 episodes of the series, remained with the show as a consultant while Stephen S. DeKnight took over as showrunner. The series was officially titled Daredevil, with Loeb, Jim Corey, Dan Buckley, Joe Quesada, Stan Lee, Alan Fine, Cindy Holland, Chris Henigman, Ali Goss, and Peter Friedlander also serving as executive producers. In April 2015, Marvel and Netflix announced that Daredevil had been renewed for a second season, but DeKnight would not be returning due to prior commitments. He was replaced as showrunner by Doug Petrie and Marco Ramirez, who served as writers for the first season and worked closely with DeKnight and Goddard. Petrie, Ramirez, Allison Engel, and Mark Verheiden became executive producers for the second season, while Friedlander left the show. The series was renewed for a third season in July 2016, with Petrie and Ramirez intended to return as showrunners, but Eric Olson was announced in October 2017 to be taking over as showrunner. Writing. Goddard was always a fan of Daredevil after being raised Catholic, and identifying with the character's story of a Catholic superhero struggling with the notions of right and wrong. He did not want to be a guy that just takes the comics and then shoots them on screen. I think it's our job to treat it as if it's our run. If I'm the writer of a comic book, you wouldn't just retell someone else's story, you would just take that ball and move it forward. In August 2014, when talking about the series in comparison to the 2003 film, Ted Sarandos said, "The series will not be afraid to go darker than the film did. What we love about this particular set of heroes is that they're a little more down to earth. Costume-wise and also in that these are gritty crime stories, more in the streets than in the clouds." Elaborating on this, DeKnight said, "It is a little grittier and edgier than Marvel has gone before, but we're not looking to push it to extreme graphic violence, gratuitous nudity, or anything like that. The story does not require that and I think would suffer if you pushed it that far." Marvel Television head and executive producer Loeb later stated that, "There aren't going to be people flying through the sky, there are no magic hammers. We've always approached this as a crime drama first, superhero show second." DeKnight took inspiration from The French Connection, Dog Day Afternoon, and Taxi Driver, and stated that we would rather lean toward The Wire than what's considered a classic superhero television show. Loeb compared the series' approach to telling stories over multiple seasons to the world of publishing, where you have the Frank Miller, you have the Brian Bendis run, you have the Ed Brubaker run. I was lucky enough to do Daredevil, Yellow. But they feel different. They have different elements to them. Same cast. In many cases, same tone. But a different adventure. You can watch Daredevil Season 2 without having seen Daredevil Season 1. But if you watch each of them, it's like getting 2 different books. It's closer to the world of the graphic novel than it is to the world of the ongoing, serialized show. Casting. At the end of May 2014, Charlie Cox was cast as Daredevil. Cox was the first choice for the role, suggested by Quesada in 2012 before Marvel Studios regained the rights to the character from the former 20th Century Fox. On June 10, Marvel announced that Vincent D'Onofrio would portray Wilson Fisk/Kingpin in the series, and on June 20, Rosario Dawson joined the cast. A few days later, Eldon Henson was cast as Foggy Nelson, while on July 17, Deborah Ann Wall was cast as Karen Page. On October 11, Dawson's role was revealed to be Claire Temple, a character resembling that of night nurse, while Islet Zurer, Bob Gunton, Toby Leonard Moore, and Vondi Curtis Hall joined the series as Vanessa Mariana, Leland Owlsley, James Wesley, and Ben Urich, respectively. In June 2015, Marvel announced that John Bernthal was cast as Frank Castle/Punisher for the second season, joining Season 1 returners Cox, Wall, Henson, Dawson, and D'Onofrio. The next month, Elodie Yung was cast as Elektra Natchios, a character that had been mentioned already in the first season. In September 2015, Stephen Ryder joined the cast in the role of Blake Tower. Cox, Wall, Henson, D'Onofrio, and Ryder returned for the third season. Wilson Bethel was revealed to be joining them in November 2017, as Benjamin Dex Poindexter, with Joanne Whalley joining as Sister Maggie Grace by January 2018, and Jay Ali joining as Rahul Ray Nadeem, another FBI agent by March 2018. Zurer has a guest appearance in the season. On the casting process, DeKnight stated that you just have to hope you find the right way. Luckily our cast came together, and I couldn't have been happier. No one will ever perfectly fit what's in your head. For me, the more important thing is not whether or not they look the part, but if they feel the part. Laurie Mayfield and Julie Schubert served as casting directors on the series. In December 2017, D'Onofrio revealed he had a standing agreement with Jeff Loeb, created before the first season, that allowed him to come in and out of the show, with an unspecified amount of notice given when Marvel hoped to use D'Onofrio in the series. Design. Costumes. Title sequence. Filming. Filming for the series takes place in New York City, in areas of Brooklyn and Long Island City that still look like the old Hell's Kitchen, in addition to soundstage work. The production has an 8-day per episode shooting schedule. On the feel of the show, DeKnight stated, "We're going for a gritty, 1970s New York feel for the show. We love the idea of beauty and the decay of the city, and Hell's Kitchen being a place that's both beautiful and gritty at the same time. And that's why Matt Murdock loves it and wants to protect it." The series' action sequences take inspiration from the Raid films. Visual effects. Visual effects for the series were completed by the New York studio Shade VFX. Brian Goswin serves as visual effects supervisor. Music. It was revealed that John Pisano would be composing the music for the series in October 2014. The main theme of the series, which was composed by Braden Kimball, is derived from Pisano's original demo for the series, which he submitted during the auditioning process. Pisano noted that it is rare for such material to be incorporated into a final score like this. A soundtrack album for the first season was released digitally on April 27, 2015, for the second season on July 15, 2016, and for the third season on October 19, 2018. Marvel Cinematic Universe tie-ins. Daredevil was the first of the Marvel Netflix series, and was followed by Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, which led to the miniseries The Defenders. In November 2013, Disney CEO Bob Iger stated that, if the characters prove popular on Netflix, it's quite possible that they could become feature films, which Sarandos echoed in July 2015. In August 2014, D'Onofrio stated that after the series stuff with Netflix, Marvel has a bigger plan to branch out. In December 2014, Loeb explained that within the Marvel Universe there are thousands of heroes of all shapes and sizes, but the Avengers are here to save the universe and Daredevil is here to save the neighborhood. It does take place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's all connected. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we would look up in the sky and see. It's just a different part of New York that we have not yet seen in the Marvel movies. Dawson later elaborated that when you've got that level of superpowers, the fighting is different, the stakes are different, and it has a grander feel. In that world, they exist in it, so they know it and it's normal to them. But in reality, when people are fighting and doing really bad, illicit crimes on the ground and there are guns and drugs, bones are going to break. People aren't hitting each other and nothing's going to happen because they're indestructible. These are people. They're vulnerable and you get to experience that. In March 2015, Loeb spoke on the ability for the series to cross over with the MCU films and the ABC television series, saying, "As it is now, in the same way that our films started out as self-contained and then by the time we got to the Avengers, it became more practical for Captain America to do a little crossover into Thor 2 and for Bruce Banner to appear at the end of Iron Man 3. We have to earn that. The audience needs to understand who all of these characters are and what the world is before you then start mingling in terms of where it's going." In April, Cox stated that crossing over with the films is possible. "I think there's a way that the worlds can merge. I think our show feels tonally and thematically a bit different from the Avengers movies, but it's all one universe and I feel like there's a way for Daredevil and other characters, Luke Cage, and street-level crime characters to fit into that universe. I think there has to be a way, and I think it's about finding an autonomous tone for that film." Cox also said that he is contractually obligated to appear in films if asked by Marvel. Cox expressed interest in making a cameo appearance in Captain America: Civil War due to Daredevil's presence in Mark Millar's 2006-2007 Civil War crossover storyline, which inspired the film, but acknowledged that he might have missed the boat due to principal photography having already commenced by that point. While writing Avengers: Infinity War, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely talked about possibly including Daredevil and Luke Cage in the film scenes taking place in New York City, but felt that including them for quick cameos would not have satisfied the audiences. Marketing. Disney Consumer Products created a small line of products to cater to a more adult audience, given the show's edgier tone. Paul Gitter, Senior VP of Marvel Licensing for Disney Consumer Products, explained that the focus would be more on teens and adults than very young people, with products at outlets like Hot Topic. Additionally, a Marvel Nights merchandise program was created to support the series, which creates new opportunities for individual product lines and collector-focused products. Licensing partners wanted to pair up with Marvel, despite this not being a film project, given its previous successes. Release. Streaming. Daredevil was released on the streaming service Netflix, in all territories where it is available, in Ultra HD 4K and high dynamic range. The first 2 seasons were enhanced to be available in HDR after their initial release by post-production vendor Deluxe. The episodes for each season were released simultaneously, as opposed to a serialized format, to encourage binge-watching, a format which has been used for other Netflix original series. Daredevil was the first Netflix original series to receive its descriptive video service audio description track. Despite being branded as a Netflix original, Daredevil was licensed to Netflix from Disney. Daredevil was removed from Netflix on March 1, 2022, along with the other Marvel Netflix series, due to Netflix's license for the series ending and Disney regaining the rights. Disney opted not to have Netflix pay a large licensing fee to retain the distribution rights for the series, and instead announced that all the series would be made available on Disney and on March 16 in the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand, and in Disney Plus's other markets by the end of 2022. In the United States, revised parental controls were introduced to the service to allow the more mature content of the series to be added, similarly to the controls that already exist for other regions that have the Star Content Hub. Home media. Reception. Audience viewership. As Netflix does not reveal subscriber viewership numbers for any of their original series, Kareem Zirike, Senior Vice President of Original Programming at Marvel Television, provided some viewership demographics for Daredevil in August 2017, noting that the series has attracted a large number of male viewers. Also in the month, Netflix released viewing patterns for the Marvel Netflix series. The data, which came from Netflix's 1,300 taste communities around the world, where subscribers are grouped based on what they watch, showed that viewers would not watch the series in chronological order by release, rather starting with Jessica Jones, then Daredevil, Luke Cage, and finally Iron Fist. Todd Yellin, Netflix's Vice President of Product Innovation, noted that audiences watch the series in order of how they're interested in them and how they learn about them. Netflix's data also showed that a viewer watching Daredevil would most often then move on to Jessica Jones, and vice versa, while other series with anti-heroes and themes of moral ambiguity such as Bloodline, Breaking Bad, Dexter and House of Cards led viewers to starting Daredevil. In October 2018, Crimson Hexagon, a consumer insights company, released data that examined the social media buzz for the series to try to correlate it with potential viewership. The data showed that when the first season premiered in April 2015, the season had nearly 275,000 Twitter and Instagram posts regarding it. For when the second season was released in March 2016, the posts had declined to just over 200,000, and for the third season, looking at data gathered halfway through October 2018, the posts had declined to 75,000. The series entered Nielsen Media Research's streaming list, which measures the number of minutes watched by United States audiences on television sets, as the 8th most watched original series across streaming services for the week of December 2021, with 195 million minutes viewed. Daredevil's appearance on the list was believed to be from viewers returning to the series following Cox's appearance in Spider-Man: No Way Home and D'Onofrio's appearance in Hawkeye. Critical response. The review aggregation website Rotten Tomatoes reported a 99% approval rating for the first season, based on 72 reviews, with an average rating of 8.1/10. The website's critical consensus reads, with tight adherence to its source material's history, high production quality, and a no-nonsense dramatic flair, Daredevil excels as an effective superhero origin story, a gritty procedural, and an exciting action-adventure. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned a score of 75 out of 100, based on 22 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. The second season has an 81% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, based on 57 reviews, with an average rating of 6.9/10. The site's critical consensus reads, bolstered by some impressive action, Daredevil keeps its footing in Season 2, even if the additions of Punisher and Elektra can't quite fill the void left by Wilson Fisk. On Metacritic, it has a score of 68 out of 100, based on 13 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. The third season has a 97% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, based on 65 reviews, with an average rating of 8.1/10. The site's critical consensus reads, The Man with No Fear returns to top form with a third season that begins tediously slow but gradually generates comic book thrills, immeasurably helped by the welcome return of Vincent D'Onofrio's menacing Kingpin. On Metacritic, it has a score of 71 out of 100, based on 6 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Accolades. In December 2015, IGN named Daredevil the second best Netflix original programming series released to date. Spin-off. By January 2016, ahead of the debut of Bernthal as armed vigilante Frank Castle/Punisher in Season 2, Netflix was in very early development on a spin-off series titled The Punisher, and was looking for a showrunner. The series would be centered on Bernthal as Castle, and was described as a stand-alone project, outside of the series leading up to The Defenders. Loeb implied that Marvel Television had not instigated the development of the spin-off and were focusing on making the best 13 episodes of Daredevil Season 2 at the time, but did say, "I'm never going to discourage a network from looking at one of our characters and encouraging us to do more, if we are lucky enough that through the writing, through the direction, through the actor that people want to see more of that person, terrific." In April 2016, Marvel and Netflix ordered The Punisher, confirmed Bernthal's involvement and named Steve Lightfoot as showrunner. The series was released in November 2017. Wall reprises her role as Karen Page in the series.